The underground fighting circuit of Nexus Station wasn't supposed to exist. According to Galactic Federation regulations, cross-species combat for entertainment was banned in 47 systems. According to reality, however, credits talked louder than laws, and the appetite for blood knew no boundaries among civilized species. Luna Martinez had been working the circuit for 3 months, and she was getting tired of being everyone's favorite punching bag. At 19 years old and barely 5'2", Luna looked like someone who should be serving drinks, not absorbing them with her face. Her curly black hair was always pulled back in a messy bun, and her brown eyes carried the kind of exhaustion that came from too many hits and not enough wins. The other fighters called her fresh meat in a dozen different languages, and the bookies wouldn't even take bets on her matches anymore. Tonight was different, though. Tonight, Luna was angry. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted beings of questionable parentage. The announcer's voice boomed to the underground arena, a converted cargo bay that reeked of sweat, spilled alcohol, and desperation. Welcome to tonight's main event. In the red corner, weighing in at 280 pounds of pure predatory perfection, the Terror Titan 7, the Bone Collector himself, Krax'oth the Destroyer. The crowd erupted as the gladiator entrance slid open with a hiss. What emerged looked like evolution had gotten drunk and decided to create the perfect killing machine. Krax'oth stood 8 feet tall, his reptilian hide covered in natural armor plates that gleamed under the harsh arena lights. His arms were longer than Luna was tall, ending in claws that could punch through starship hull plating. His head was all teeth and hunger, with 4 red eyes that tracked movement like targeting computers. He had killed 17 opponents in sanctioned matches. The unsanctioned ones didn't get counted. And in the blue corner, the announcer continued with barely concealed amusement, weighing in at, well, let's just say significantly less, representing the primitive death world of Earth, Luna Martinez. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered because they enjoyed watching David and Goliath scenarios. Others laughed because they thought they were about to witness a comedy show. Most just waited quietly for the bloodshed to begin. Luna walked into the arena wearing her usual fighting outfit. Black shorts, sports bra, hand wraps, and the kind of determined expression that said she had run out of other options. She looked impossibly small under the lights, like a child who had wandered onto the wrong stage. Krax'oth's laugh was a sound of grinding glass mixed with breaking bones. This is what Earth sends to challenge me? A whelp barely out of her egg. Actually, Luna called back, her voice carrying clearly despite the noise, I've been out of my egg for 19 years now. But thanks for asking about my reproductive cycle. Really sets the mood for violence. A ripple of surprised laughter went through the crowd. Most beings who faced Krax'oth were too terrified to speak, let alone crack jokes. The giant predator's 4 eyes narrowed. You have spirit, little mammal. It will make breaking you more satisfying. You know, Luna said, beginning to stretch casually like she was warming up for a light workout. That's exactly what my ex-boyfriend said. Right before I introduced his face to a car door. More laughter from the crowd. Luna was playing to the audience. But more importantly, she was buying time to study her opponent. Krax'oth was big, fast, and covered in natural armor. His reach advantage was ridiculous. His claws could gut her with a casual swipe, and his species was known for regenerative abilities that made them nearly indestructible. On paper, she was dead before the fight even started. Good thing Luna had never been much for reading. Fighters, prepare for combat, the announcer called out. Standard underground rules apply. No weapons, no outside assistance. Fight continues until one combatant is unconscious, yields, or stops moving permanently. Krax'oth dropped into a predatory crouch that looked like it belonged in a nature documentary about things that ate slower things. His claws dug furrows in the metal floor, and a low growl emerged from his throat that made several spectators take unconscious steps backward. Luna settled into her fighting stance. It looked ridiculous. She stood sideways, her left foot forward, hands held loosely at her sides like she was about to start dancing. Her weight distribution seemed all wrong. Her guard was practically non-existent, and she looked about as threatening as a houseplant. The crowd's laughter was immediate and brutal. "What is that supposed to be?" shouted someone from the upper tiers. "Is she surrendering already?" called another voice. I've seen more intimidating stretching routines. But it was Krax'oth's reaction that really set the tone. The massive predator straightened up from his crouch and began laughing, a sound like a landslide mixed with breaking furniture. His four eyes actually began tearing up with mirth. "That is your fighting stance," he gasped between guffaws. "Little mammal, I have seen prey animals look more dangerous while running away." Luna waited patiently for him to finish laughing. "You done?" "Oh, this is precious," Krax'oth continued, wiping at his eyes with the back of one clawed hand. "The Death Worlder thinks she is a warrior. Tell me, little one, did you learn that stance from Holovid? Because it looks like you are preparing to dance rather than fight." Dancing, fighting, Luna shrugged. Sometimes there's not much difference. Krax'oth's laughter got even louder. "I almost feel guilty about what I'm going to do to you. Almost. But the credits I will earn from your broken body will comfort me in my moment of regret." "That's nice," Luna said conversationally. "Hey, quick question before we start. How's your jaw feeling?" The question was so random it actually made Krax'oth pause mid-laugh. "My jaw? What kind of strange question is that?" "Oh, just wondering. It looks a little tense. You might want to relax it." Krax'oth's confusion was evident. Why would I need to relax my jaw? Luna's smile was absolutely predatory, because in about 10 seconds, I'm going to split it in half. The arena fell silent. Even the background noise of the station seemed to fade as every being in the converted cargo bay tried to process what they had just heard. 100-pound human girl had just threatened an 8-foot killing machine with specific bodily harm. Krax'oth's laughter returned, but this time it had an edge of genuine disbelief. "You're going to split my jaw? Little mammal, my species is armor plating that can stop plasma bolts. Our bone density is 3 times that of most carbon-based life forms. Our healing factor can close wounds in minutes." "That's fascinating," Luna said, still in that same casual tone. "Really interesting biology lesson. Are you going to keep talking, or are we going to fight?" "I am going to enjoy this," Krax'oth snarled, dropping back into his predatory crouch. "When I am done with you, they will need to identify your remains with a genetic scanner." "Promises, promises," Luna replied. The bell rang. Krax'oth exploded forward with a kind of speed that shouldn't have been possible for something his size. His claws extended to full length, aimed directly at Luna's midsection with enough force to punch through armor plating. Luna moved. What happened next would be replayed on underground fighting networks for years to come. Luna didn't dodge backwards or to the side like any rational being facing a creature twice her size. Instead, she moved forward and down, sliding under Krax'oth's charge like she was stealing home base. As a massive predator sailed over her, his momentum carrying him past where she had been standing, Luna pushed off with her left foot and spun upward. Her right fist, which had seemed so pathetically small compared to Krax'oth's claws, caught him directly under the chin with precision that spoke of years of training and perfect timing. The sound of the impact was like a gunshot. Krax'oth's head snapped back with enough force to make his neck vertebrae crack audibly. His 4 eyes went wide with shock, then rolled back as his nervous system tried to process what had just happened to him. The mighty predator crashed to the arena floor like a felled tree, his massive body hitting the metal deck with a sound like thunder. Luna stood over him, shaking out her right hand and wincing slightly. "Ow! Okay, that hurt more than I expected." Note to self, alien jawbones are really freaking hard. The arena was completely silent. 1,000 beings sat frozen in disbelief, trying to process what they had just witnessed. The bookies were frantically checking their systems for glitches. The medical staff was already moving toward the fallen gladiator. Krax'oth wasn't moving. "Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted beings of questionable parentage," the announcer's voice finally broke the silence, though it cracked slightly with shock. "Your winner by knockout, in a time of 12 seconds, Luna Martinez." The crowd exploded. Some cheered, some screamed, some threw things. Credits changed hands at light speed as the impossible outcome of the fight settled in. The underground network servers crashed from the sudden spike in replay requests. Luna walked over to where Krax'oth lay unconscious and knelt beside him, checking his pulse. "He'll live," she announced to the medical team that was now surrounding them. "Might have a headache for a few days, though." She stood up and looked around at the shocked faces in the crowd. "Anyone else think my fighting stance looks funny?" The arena remained silent. "No." "Good. Because I've got 17 more fights scheduled this month, and I'd hate for anyone to get the wrong impression about Earth martial arts." As Luna walked toward the exit, one brave soul in the upper tiers called out, "How did you do that?" Luna paused and looked up at the crowd. "You really want to know?" 1,000 heads nodded in unison. "Simple," she said with a grin that was equal parts satisfaction and exhaustion. "Where I come from, we don't fight fair. We fight smart. And the first rule of fighting smart is to let your opponent underestimate you." She held up her bruised right hand. "This is called a sucker punch where I'm from, named after the suckers who fall for it." As she disappeared into the gladiator tunnels, the crowd was still trying to process what they had witnessed. In the space of 12 seconds, Luna Martinez had gone from laughingstock to legend. But in the VIP boxes overlooking the arena, other eyes were watching. Eyes that belonged to beings who didn't appreciate having their entertainment disrupted by upstart humans who didn't know their place in the galactic hierarchy. Luna had just made some very powerful enemies, and they were already planning her next fight. 3 days after Luna Martinez knocked out the Terror Titan 7 in 12 seconds, she discovered that fame was considerably more dangerous than obscurity. The first clue was a hover limo waiting outside her cramped studio apartment in Sector 7. Black, sleek, and expensive enough to buy a small moon, it stuck out in an industrial district like a diamond in a garbage disposal. The second clue was a 7-foot-tall alien in an expensive suit standing beside it, his forearms arranged in what Luna had learned to recognize as a Zephyrian gesture for polite threat. "Miss Martinez," the alien said as she approached, his translator giving his voice the smooth quality of expensive liquor poured over broken glass. "My employer would like a word with you." Luna stopped about 10 feet away, her hands casually tucked into the pockets of her worn leather jacket. "That's nice. Tell your employer I charge for consultations. 500 credits, cash up front, no checks." The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "I do not think you understand the nature of this invitation, Miss Martinez." "Oh, I understand perfectly," Luna replied, her voice carrying the kind of cheerful indifference that made smart people nervous. "Your boss saw my fight with Krax'oth, figure out I'm not the pushover everyone thought I was, and now wants to either recruit me, threaten me, or feed me to something with more teeth than a chainsaw factory." The alien's 4 eyes narrowed slightly. "You are perceptive. I'm experienced. There's a difference." Luna pulled her hands out of her pockets, revealing that she was wearing her fighting wraps. "So, which is it? Recruitment, threats, or lunch menu?" "Perhaps," the alien suggested, "you should ask him yourself." The limo door slid open with the kind of whisper-quiet precision that screamed expensive technology. From the dark interior, a voice emerged that made the translator sound like a children's toy by comparison. "Miss Martinez, please join me. I believe we have much to discuss." Luna had heard that voice before, though never directed at her personally. It belonged to Vex'andros the Collector, one of the most powerful crime lords in the Outer Rim. He was rumored to own everything from slave fighting rings to entire star systems, and his hobby was collecting rare and dangerous things. Apparently, Luna had just made his list. "You know," she said conversationally, "my mother always told me not to get into cars with strangers, especially strangers who collect people as a hobby." "Your mother sounds like a wise woman," the voice from the limo replied. "Unfortunately, wisdom and survival do not always align. Ask yourself, Miss Martinez, would you prefer to have this conversation as my guest or as my property?" Luna considered her options. She could run, but the Collector's reach extended across half the galaxy. She could fight, but 7-foot-tall bodyguards in expensive suits usually came with expensive weapons. She could scream for help, but nobody in Sector 7 was stupid enough to interfere with Vex'andros the Collector. "Well," she said finally, "when you put like that, I guess I'm riding in style today." The interior of the limo was exactly what Luna expected. More expensive than her yearly income, dimly lit, and designed to make visitors feel small and uncomfortable. What she hadn't expected was how normal Vex'andros looked. He appeared to be human, or at least humanoid, with silver hair and pale skin that suggested he hadn't seen natural sunlight in decades. His suit was perfectly tailored, his hands were manicured, and his smile was the kind that belonged on insurance salesmen and serial killers. "Miss Martinez," he said as the limo began moving smoothly through traffic, "you have caused quite a stir in my organization." "That wasn't really the plan," Luna replied, settling back into leather seats that probably cost more than most people made in a month. "I was just trying to avoid getting eaten by an 8-foot lizard. Krax'oth is currently in intensive care," Vex'andros continued, his tone conversational. "The doctors say his jaw will heal, but it may take several months. His pride, however, may take considerably longer to recover. Yeah, well, next time maybe you shouldn't laugh at my fighting stance." "Ah, yes, your fighting stance." Vex'andros leaned forward slightly, his pale eyes studying Luna like she was a particularly interesting specimen. "My experts have reviewed the recording of your fight. They tell me that what you demonstrated is impossible." "Impossible how?" "The angle of your strike, the force generation from such a small frame, the precise targeting of Krax'oth's neural clusters. According to our combat analysts, a human of your size and weight should not have been capable of generating enough kinetic energy to cause that level of damage." Luna shrugged. "Maybe your analysts need to learn more about human anatomy. Or perhaps," Vex'andros said with that unsettling smile, "there's more to Luna Martinez than meets the eye." The limo came to a stop, and Luna could hear the sound of crowds and machinery through the armored walls. They had arrived somewhere that sounded like another arena, but bigger than the underground circuit. "Where are we?" she asked. "The Nexus Grand Colosseum," Vex'andros replied. "The most prestigious fighting venue in this sector of the galaxy, where careers are made, legends are born, and fortunes are won and lost with each battle." Luna felt her stomach drop. "Please tell me you're not about to offer me a modeling contract." Vex'andros laughed, a sound like silver coins falling on marble. "Miss Martinez, I'm going to offer you something far more valuable than a modeling contract. I am going to offer you a chance to become the most famous fighter in the galaxy. And if I'm not interested, then you'll become the most infamous corpse in the galaxy." His smile never wavered. "The choice, as they say, is yours." The limo door opened, revealing the massive structure of the Grand Colosseum. Unlike the converted cargo bay where Luna had fought Krax'oth, this was a purpose-built cathedral of violence. Towering spires rose toward the artificial sky, and the roar of 50,000 spectators echoed within its walls. "Tonight," Vex'andros continued as they stepped out of the limo, "you will face 3 opponents in succession. Each one has been specifically chosen to test different aspects of your abilities. 3 fights in one night?" Luna asked, trying to keep the concern out of her voice. "That seems a little excessive." "The first opponent is Thax'mor the Impaler, a Vraxian warrior whose species is known for their incredible speed and reflexes. He has won 43 consecutive matches and specializes in quick, surgical strikes." Luna nodded, taking in the information. Fast opponents were tricky, but manageable if you could predict their patterns. "The second opponent is Gorthyun the Living Mountain, a Krellin siegebreaker whose natural armor is reportedly stronger than starship hull plating. He is slower than Thax'mor, but has never been knocked down by any opponent." "And the third?" Luna asked, though she suspected she didn't want to know. Vex'andros' smile became absolutely predatory. "The third opponent is Zyxera the Soul Render, a psychic combatant from the Ethereal Collective. She can read her opponent's thoughts, predict their moves, and project fear directly into their minds." Luna was quiet for a long moment, processing the information. 3 fights. 3 completely different types of opponents, each one designed to expose a different weakness in human combat ability. "You know," she said finally, "when I was a kid, I wanted to be a veterinarian." "I am sure you would have been excellent at treating wounded animals," Vex'andros replied. "Unfortunately, fate seems to have other plans for you." As they walked toward the Colosseum's gladiator entrance, Luna caught sight of the massive holographic displays, showing the betting odds for tonight's matches. Her survival was currently listed at approximately the same odds as being struck by lightning while winning the lottery. "One more question," she said as they approached the preparation chambers. "What happens if I actually manage to win all 3 fights?" Vex'andros paused, his pale eyes studying her with renewed interest. "Miss Martinez, if you can defeat Thax'mor, Gorthian, and Zuwaixera in a single evening, I will personally ensure that you never have to worry about money, safety, or finding worthy opponents ever again. And if I lose, then the galaxy will remember you as a human who burned bright and fast, like a shooting star across the darkness of space." Luna was led to a preparation chamber that was considerably more luxurious than the cramped alcoves of the underground circuit. She had access to massage therapy, nutritional supplements, and even a tactical analysis computer that could provide detailed information about her opponents. She ignored all of it. Instead, Luna sat in the center of the chamber, closed her eyes, and began to meditate. It was a practice she had learned from her first martial arts instructor, an elderly man who had taught her that the most important battles were won before the fighting ever began. "Miss Martinez?" A technician's voice interrupted her concentration. "You're on in 5 minutes. Is there anything you need?" Luna opened her eyes and smiled. "Yeah, actually, can you get me a message to the announcer?" "Of course. What would you like to say?" "Tell him that when he introduces me tonight, I want him to use my full fighting name." The technician looked confused. "Your full fighting name?" "Luna Martinez, the Underestimated." 20 minutes later, Luna walked into the Grand Colosseum to the sound of 50,000 beings screaming for blood. The arena floor was pristine white sand that would show every drop of spilled fluid, and the lighting was bright enough to reveal every detail of the coming carnage. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications," the announcer's voice boomed through speakers that could have been heard on neighboring planets. "Welcome to tonight's Triple Threat Elimination Tournament. Tonight, one fighter will face 3 of the galaxy's most dangerous combatants in succession, with no rest between matches." The crowd roared approval. Fighting out of the red corner, representing the primitive death world of Earth, standing 5'2" and weighing in at 110 pounds, Luna Martinez, the Underestimated. Luna walked to the center of the arena, waving at the crowd like she was at a sporting event rather than a potential execution. The betting displays showed the odds shifting even worse against her as the audience got their first look at the small human who thought she could survive the night. And her first opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, winner of 43 consecutive matches, the Vraxian speed demon himself, Thax'mor the Impaler. What emerged from the opposite entrance looked like someone had crossed a praying mantis with a set of kitchen knives, and given the result, anger management issues. Thax'mor stood 7 feet tall on 4 legs that ended in razor-sharp points, and his 4 arms each terminated in bone blades that could punch through armor plating. His compound eyes tracked Luna's every movement with mechanical precision. "Fighters, prepare for combat," the announcer called. "Standard Colosseum rules. Fight continues until one combatant yields, is rendered unconscious, or dies. Begin." Thax'mor moved like liquid lightning, his 4 legs carrying him across the arena floor faster than most beings could follow. His bone blades extended to full length, aimed at Luna's vital organs with surgical precision. Luna settled into her fighting stance. The crowd's laughter was immediate and deafening. "She's doing it again!" someone screamed from the upper tiers. "Does she only know one stance?" called another voice. But this time, Luna wasn't listening to the crowd. She was watching Thax'mor's compound eyes, reading the micro-movements that betrayed his attack patterns. Vraxians might be fast, but they were also predictable. Their speed came at the cost of adaptability. Thax'mor's first strike was aimed at Luna's throat. She bent backward, letting the bone blade whistle past her neck by millimeters. His second strike came from below, targeting her midsection. Luna twisted sideways, the blade missing her by less than an inch. His third strike never came. Luna's counterattack was a rising knee that caught Thax'mor directly in what she assumed was his solar plexus. The impact lifted the 7-foot alien completely off the ground and sent him crashing into the arena wall with enough force to crack the reinforced barriers. The arena fell silent. Thax'mor slid down the wall and remained motionless, his compound eyes unfocused and his bone blades retracted. Winner of the first match, in a time of 18 seconds, Luna Martinez, the Underestimated. The announcer called, his voice cracking with disbelief. The crowd erupted in a mixture of cheers and confused screaming. The betting displays were flashing error messages as the algorithms tried to process what they had just witnessed. Luna walked back to the center of the arena, shaking out her knee and grimacing slightly. Okay, that one actually hurt. Mental note: alien exoskeletons are really freaking hard. She looked around at the shocked crowd and grinned. Don't worry, folks. I'm just getting warmed up. In the VIP boxes, Vex'andros leaned forward in his seat, his pale eyes gleaming with something that might have been genuine interest for the first time in decades. Fascinating, he murmured to himself. Simply fascinating. The night was just getting started.